and welcome back to Homeschool and Chill, the YouTube channel that seeks to alleviate your stress and anxiety about homeschooling. My name is Corinne and it is Flashback Friday once again. I'm here to share one of my old videos from my other YouTube channel here for those of you who have not been able to see it on my other channel. And today's topic is my top 5 distractions while homeschooling. Check it out. My goodness, this isn't something that I've had to deal with personally, but by being part of homeschool groups on Facebook and talking to other moms who homeschool, apparently this is a problem. Just because you are at home most of the time with your children, people automatically assume that you just love taking care of lots of children and wouldn't mind recruiting a few more children on board to take care of. And so people will ask you to babysit during the hours when you should be homeschooling your children. Some people actually say that they've gotten comments like, I mean, you're at home all day anyway. If you don't mind watching other people's children, then fine, that's okay. Especially if they're offering to pay you for your services. Go ahead and get your shmoney. But don't feel obligated to babysit your friends' kids, your relatives' kids, your neighbors, whoever's kids, just because you're at home during the day. You have to take your child's homeschooling experience very seriously. You can't just decide to bring in somebody's baby or somebody's toddler if that's going to interrupt lesson times or the experience that your child would have been having. The entire point of you homeschooling your child is to give your child the best educational experience possible. And if bringing somebody's baby or toddler into the mix isn't going to necessarily do that, then you're not really fulfilling the purpose of homeschooling. It's already tough enough if you have multiple children that you're homeschooling, where you might have a sibling who kind of interrupts or a younger sibling who kind of messes up some of your plans sometimes. Adding more children to the mix isn't going to help your children. So don't feel bad to turn people down who are begging you to babysit. You're not just home all day. You're not just someone who loves having lots of children in the house and adding a few more is not a big deal. No, you are home to homeschool your child and you don't need the extra distraction there. As much as we love for relatives to just pop in here and there to visit, this can be one of those time suckers when you're homeschooling. I think a lot of people are confused about what the purpose of homeschooling is, or either they don't respect homeschooling. You wouldn't imagine someone just dropping in onto a school campus and visiting their grandchildren or their niece or nephew or dropping in on a teacher while she's teaching. But for some reason, that seems okay with homeschooling, that, oh, you're just at home, you're just there with the kids. If I want to see my family, I'll just drop in. It doesn't matter if you're supposed to be teaching or not, it's not a big deal. Sometimes it's almost as if people can feel a sense of entitlement to your time because you are homeschooling. One of the most beautiful things about homeschooling is the flexibility that you have with your time, that you can decide that you want to homeschool in the morning or homeschool in the evening, or you can homeschool at home or out somewhere on a trip. But understand that that flexibility belongs to you and you decide how much you want to bend and stretch your schedule or routine. It is not for other people to decide that you can adjust your schedule because they want to come over, or it's not for other people to decide that you should adjust your schedule because they want to see your children, or that you should stretch and adjust your schedule because they want you to come visit them or go be part of things that they have going on. That flexibility belongs to you and what works best for your family. It's not to be dictated by outside people. So don't feel afraid to let family know too that, hey, you can't visit during these hours. I know that we decided to homeschool so we have a more flexible schedule to travel, vacation, and visit family when we want to, but this isn't one of those times that we've chosen to do that. So you're going to have to wait until we feel like it's the best time. Don't feel obligated to answer your phone while you're homeschooling. I understand that there can be emergencies that happen and you do want to be available for friends or people that you care about, but you also have to consider what would people do if you were working outside the home. Just like when I was teaching second grade, Nobody called my phone during certain hours because they just knew that I was working. Or anybody, it doesn't matter, teaching or any other profession. If you're working, people know that you're not available unless it is an emergency. And I think that when people are homeschooling, outsiders assume that you're just more available to get on your phone and just chit chat while you're homeschooling, and that your time with your children, educating them, isn't precious. Sometimes it's not necessarily the other people's fault. It's us because we decide to answer the phone. Like a lot of the times, we do have friends and family who are understanding, but they just don't know when you're homeschooling. So you have to just either answer the phone and say, I can't talk right now because I'm teaching, or just don't answer the phone and you'll get back to them when you can. But some of us, we see like our friend's number on our phone, or we see that text message where it says, girl, and we just know that like she's got some really good tea to share, and we don't want to sit there and wait to get the tea later. Girl, just go ahead and teach your kids. That tea is still going to be just as sweet later on when you're done teaching your children. And who knows, by the time that you get to talk to your friend, there might be an additional plot twist to the tea that she's going to share with you by the time that you can talk to her about it. But don't rob your children of an educational experience. Don't rob your children of that time right now. They could just be right there at that point where that concept that you're trying to teach, they're about to understand it, but then you decide to direct your attention somewhere else and you miss that opportunity. So don't rob your children of that time. You know, it's not just other people or other things that can be time suckers or can rob you of your time. Sometimes it's just you. And when I say you, I mean me. I'm talking about me too, because I like my phone. Yeah. You can have the most wonderful ideas for homeschooling, but if you don't plan it the right way of having your 3-year-old occupied with an activity while you're trying to teach your 6 and 5-year-old, and I'm using those ages specifically because that's how old my girls are, and sometimes I don't plan well. I'll have like great plans for what I'm going to teach, but not great plans of how I'm going to execute it with a tiny 3-year-old in the room. If you don't plan well, then you can lose a lot of time because you're constantly having to redirect your younger child, or you're constantly having to figure out how to make this thing work when that's something you should have thought about in the forefront. Like, how can I keep my 3-year-old occupied when I'm trying to get this child to do this? Or you could be sitting there thinking, how can I teach my children who are at different levels pretty much the same concept and keep them both occupied at the same time to make the best use of my time? You can lose a lot of time with homeschooling simply because we don't take the time out in the beginning to make sure that our plans have a plan A, a plan B, and sometimes plan C for when things don't go right, or just to figure out the best way to make sure it goes right in the first place. So don't hurt yourself by, poorly planning how you're going to go through teaching your children. Make sure that you have everyone like a well-oiled machine. I mean, of course, there has to be some flexibility there because these are children we're working with, and not just children, but human beings in general. You have to make sure that you're a little bit flexible. But when you have a well-executed plan, it can save you a lot of time and a lot of stress. Now, this last one is a problem that I had for the longest time because I really like to keep my house clean. And not only do I like it to be clean, but I like it to be tidy and organized and well decorated and cute and stuff. And already that's hard enough as it is having children, period. But when you're homeschooling and you're doing crafts and there's worksheets and, there's all kinds of stuff everywhere, creative things around to help, get your children to understand a certain concept that you're trying to teach. And the house just doesn't stay clean. And so one thing that used to always distract me and rob us of our homeschool time is the fact that I was always trying to tidy things up or try to do chores. I had to just realize that there's a time and a place for everything. And I know that that's, a saying that's as old as time almost, but it's true. Homeschool time is time for homeschooling, and chore time is time for chores. And I can't rob my children of their time by like, hey, do a worksheet and I'm going to go wash these dishes. Like, no, the dishes aren't going to hurt anybody. Like, let the dishes sit there and then go ahead and homeschool. Or I had to decide, am I going to go ahead and clean first, get all these chores done so that it's out of my mind and I'm not thinking about it, and then I can fully give my attention to homeschooling. But don't try to do two things at one time. Don't worry about mess and try to homeschool at the same time, because it's not going to work. You're not really going to be giving your children your full attention. You're not really going to catch all the mistakes that they make to really teach them or correct them. And children know when your attention is there too. They may not necessarily give their best. They might start playing around or getting distracted doing other things because they see that you're distracted. So make sure that you're attentive, make sure that you're focused, because if you show your children that their education is important and that it's a priority to you, that you want to give your full attention to it, then they're more likely to do the same thing. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that it inspires you and helps you to eliminate distractions and things that can rob you of your time while you're homeschooling. So, like I always say, like, share, and subscribe, and most of all, love yourselves. Bye, loves.